Welcome back to the shop. Hot Rod here. Had a buddy of mine give me a call. He said, hey man, I tried to put a skid plate on my 04 TJ and ran into a little problem. Dropped the gas tank and broken an Evap hose on the emission system. He said he tried to epoxy it and just broke clean off at a valve, and there was just no good way to mend that hose and get it to where it will pass emissions here in Georgia. So me being an old Jeep mechanic, he gave me a call and said, hey man, can you help me? I said, yeah. So bring it by, drop it off. Let me see what I can do. I put my smoke detector on it. I'll show you what that is. Got a little machine that when you power it up, it's a Smoke Pro. They're about $1,000, so they're not cheap. If you don't have one, you're not doing these kind of tests, there's really no reason to buy one. But if you run into these kind of problems, they're very handy to have. I'm sure you could make one some way or another, but you know, we used to do a lot of this kind of stuff when I had my commercial shop, so I invested in one years ago. So basically what it is, it has oil inside of it. It warms the oil up. You hook compressed air to it, and with a combination of compressed air in this hose and power, and you power it up, you can either pump it in through the gas cap. There's test ports a lot of times on the front of vehicles where you can take a Schrader valve out and you can screw one of these hoses in and connect that way. Sometimes you have to go in with a scan tool and block the Evap purge valve so it'll pressurize the system. If not, it'll just vent it, because they're naturally vented, until the computer tells it to activate. Then it pumps the system up and checks the fuel system for vapor leaks. And if it has a vapor leak, the computer counts down how fast it leaks out. And if it's small, medium, or large leak, it throws the engine light on and you can't get emissions. So this one, I guess you know what I'll do? I'll go ahead and hook it up real quick and I'll show you how I found where his leak was. All right, so I've got my air hose hooked up. I've got my jump box hooked on the power. You can also run these leads to the battery if they'll reach. Oftentimes you're doing all this under the hood. I decided to do it right here because I've got what I call a butt plug, but it's a gas cap plug. See this cone, and this hose runs through it. Sometimes they'll seal good and you can do it like that, sometimes they won't. The green buttons let me know I got power. All right, now we're cooking with bacon grease. All right, so I'm gonna pop this out and show you. You can hear it. Now you can start to see the smoke coming out of it. See the smoke? It's kind of hard to see. You might not be able to see that in this camera light, but now it's starting to make some good smoke. All right, so what we'll do, you see that? Got compressed air coming out of it, just it's a light amount of air and smoke, and we're gonna start filling the gas tank. It's leaking out a little bit right there, but it doesn't matter because we got a large leak. My scan tool told me we had a large leak, so I'm not trying to find a small leak. Finding a small leak is a little more difficult than a large leak. A large leak's easy to find. As you can see, you can already see it coming out of this fender. See the smoke coming out? See, what happened was, see that valve up there with the epoxy on it, the little white valve about the size of a baseball? Smoke's coming out good now. It's starting to gag me. So that's basically how that works. So this line, I'm trying to do this, y'all can see this line right here. They tried to epoxy back on to that valve up there. Stinks. It stinks. it's like it's baby oil I've got in that thing to make it burn. So I'm gonna turn it off. I already knew where it was leaking because I already found it. Unfortunately, I'll show you right here because I've got the whole line, the whole harness, Evap harness basically, which is all the lines for the evaporative emission system on the gas tank itself. So what happened was, it sits up in there like that. He broke, this valve goes to the rollover valve on the gas tank, on the right side of the gas tank. So he snapped it off right there, clean with a valve. And they tried to epoxy that back to that, but there was nothing sticking out of there. If it would have broke it back here, he probably could have done it. But it snapped off here, and just was no repairing it. Not good enough to pass emissions, at least. So, and then when you fill your gas tank up, you've always got gas venting out there. So, and he likes to wheel this thing. He's not scared to, you know, stick it in a ditch, cross a creek, whatever. So he's like, man, if I cross a river and that thing's open, water's gonna get into my fuel. So I need to get it fixed. So I'm like, all right. Started hunting that valve to see if we could just get the valve. You couldn't. And I was kind of puzzled. Hello, Bailey girl. Hi. Bailey's ready to play. We've had some bad weather. It's been raining on and off. And just been kind of crappy. We've all been stuck inside. It's kind of like Seattle and Georgia. It's supposed to be sunny and 70 today. It's like 12:30 and it's still like 55, 60 and just nasty wet. Anyhow, you couldn't get just this valve. And I was kind of puzzled as to why. But so I had to order the whole kit and caboodle at the dealer, and they only had one in Atlanta, in the whole Atlanta market. I got it, thankfully. Being an 04, a lot of times you'll find parts are just obsolete. They don't make them anymore. And you're stuck with going to a junkyard for something like this, or if a company like Dorman or somebody steps up and starts making aftermarket parts, then you might get lucky. But I didn't see anything in the aftermarket world for this particular scenario. So we got the valve, we got the whole harness. Can't change just the valve. I was hoping I could just change the valve and not have to drop the gas tank, but you can see these hoses are molded onto this valve. So we got 3 hoses that are molded on. This one's got a regular rubber fitting I could pop off, and this one goes up into something else. I'm not even sure what yet. So most likely, yeah, I mean, there's no way around it. I've got to lower the gas tank. And he's put this steel skid plate on here, like a rock slider deal. I'm not sure what brand that is or anything like that. I haven't even really looked at it to see what I've got to do to get that down. But this harness basically runs along the back side of the gas tank like so. So I've got this plugs into the rollover valve, which I can get to on this side, but I've got to be able to route this across the back of the tank here. It's on top. And then this one, I believe, goes to the rollover valve on the other side. And then I'm not sure where this goes. That looks like it'd probably be easy to get to those 2 fittings. We're going to put her up in the air and find out how hard it's going to be to route all this stuff. Find in the sun. Well, no sun. It's cloudy. Follow along. Hey, hit the subscribe button. Give me that thumbs up if you don't mind. Go back and check out my other videos and hit that thumbs up for me. Helps the algorithms. Helps, lets YouTube know that you guys are getting something out of my videos and you like them somewhat. So if you somewhat like them, it's free. Just hit that thumbs up. It's free to subscribe. We appreciate you, and thanks for watching. All right, let's get started. All right, different day, same situation. I had to switch over to something else. Family duties call. So next day, got back on it, took all the bolts out of the tank and the skid plate that he installed, got all the lines unhooked, and was able to, actually, I was going to snake it out that way, but I ended up snaking it out that way because this booger here was my broken piece on the old deal, and it's easier to pull it out through that hole than it was to slide this contraption across the top of the tank. Now, I could have lowered the tank all the way down, but I left one bolt in the corner that's really hard to get to, and that skid plate. That's not really hard to get to. It's just, plus I didn't, it's got fuel in it. I didn't want to take it all the way down and take the chance of dropping it. I'm by myself. Dropping it's how they got in this situation. So I could have put a strap over it and lowered it down, but really it wasn't that bad to snake it through. Hung up a little bit in spots, but it wasn't a big deal. I couldn't put my arm in and use this little pry bar. I had to push the gas tank strap down on this side with my pry bar through that hole, just because the last little fitting was hanging up. But you can see this is what happened when they dropped the tank. It snapped that line off, and it snapped two lines off, didn't it? Yeah, sure did. It snapped that line off, and it snapped the big rollover valve line off. So that line would be that one that goes there. And where's my rollover? This is they try to epoxy it back together, but oftentimes the epoxy gets hot and it just melts the plastic. It can. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, just depending on the material it's made out of. But in this case, there was really nothing sticking out, and I bet he didn't even realize that one was broke clean off. So it wouldn't have worked anyway, because it didn't look like they tried to, well, maybe they did try to repair that. Yeah, there's some epoxy on it, but I don't know. Anyway, we got this new one, and at first I was sweating these clips, these little clips that keep these things locked in. See these clips inside there? They're a little quick. You just push them and they spread out and lock back. Well, to release them, you gotta spread them out and push them in. And when they get brittle over a few years of use, they just snap right off most of the time. This thing's an 04. Hey, we're in 2022. These things are old and brittle. So as soon as you barely touch them with a pick or a little screwdriver to try to spread it, snap, it just breaks off. And I wasn't even thinking that, hey, the new lines come with new clips. So I kind of stressed over that a little bit yesterday when I was trying to take my time and undo everything. I should have just broke everything off and ripped it out, and because I got new. It's this deal is about, this new harness was about $335 plus tax from the dealer. But when you snap it, there's no repair in it. So there was only one in the Atlanta warehouse. One. There's a lot of dealers in the Atlanta market that are pulling out of that warehouse, and I happened to get the last one. Don't know if there'll ever be any more. So if you break any more on a TJ in the future, maybe digging them out of a junkyard, or fabbing up some new system or something, new lines. You could cut way back on these lines, and I'm not even sure what this valve does, but you could probably get a valve off another vehicle or something. It looked like Honda. When I Googled these valves, Honda popped up. Honda Acura had one that looked almost identical to this, and it may be the same valve. You never know. Car manufacturers share parts a lot of times, even foreign and domestics. So hell, Chrysler's used to run Mitsubishi engines for years, and when I worked at the dealer, a lot of that stuff was Mitsubishi. When I worked for Volvo, they had some Renault motors in them, and one or two models, I can't remember exactly. They weren't very good. The Volvo motors were great. They were bulletproof, but anyway, I'm rambling. All right, so Like I said, didn't video taking the tank down. I'm not going to video taking it back, putting it back up. It's just it's hard to film by yourself. Just a kind of a cluster of me feeding these lines through, and it's boring to watch. So I'm going to go ahead and zip this back together. Just thought I'd make a quick video about it. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully you'll hit that subscribe button and that thumbs up button. Check out my other videos, man. If you're into drag racing, hey, this is the place to be. I love hot rods, hence the name Hot Rod Dave. And we try to go to the track as much as possible and film all kinds of different events. And we keep trying to keep it family friendly so the kiddos can watch, and you don't have to worry about that. So dogs are barking, birds are chirping, sun's coming out. Hopefully it's going to be a good day. All right, guys, peace.